Hi everyone. My name is Trina Kilty and I'm a PhD candidate in the College of Education. I'm embarking on my dissertation regarding the impact that mobile devices have on communication and collaboration skills for student teams in geological fieldwork. My emphasis is in instructional technology. I have also just about completed 2 minors in education research in both quantitative and qualitative approaches. My dissertation will continue to use quantitative methods in the form of descriptive and inferential statistics to analyze a survey that I will administer. Because my background is in a hard science, I have a master's degree in geology, I planned a quantitative oriented dissertation almost from the start. I encountered qualitative research for the first time in this class, EDRE 5530, several years ago. I remember being really intrigued by it. Um, but a few years later, then I took Introduction to Qualitative Research, and I was amazed. I had never really thought about what I could learn from a qualitative approach. Plus, I found the research to be quite readable. I did my first project on people's perceptions of the impact mobile devices have on their outdoor experience. From there, I took phenomenology, where I expanded the study and completed an IRB so that I could finish it and publish it. I can't say the paper is published yet, but I'm working on it. I presented this work last year at the Northern Rocky Mountain Educational Research Association, or NERMERA for short. I highly recommend the organization and taking the opportunity to present your qualitative research. For me, it felt more like storytelling than presenting facts or a dry paper. So the next year I took autoethnography, again, both of these classes from Dr. Tiemann, and completed another IRB for an autoethnography about how qualitative approaches are used, if at all, in the hard sciences and how my paradigm of scientific inquiry has been changed by encountering qualitative research. I presented this paper as a poster session at this year's conference of NERMERA. I'm really thankful for the opportunity to present my duo papers, but even more so the chance to broaden my own paradigm of research from quantitative to consider other viewpoints and lived experiences. I'm excited to pursue mixed methods research as I start my career. So the reason why I chose this paper is because my interest in educational technology and how a qualitative approach could be used to understand the experience of reading digitized text. I encountered this paper in Dr. Tiemann's phenomenology class. I printed it out and I've kept it ever since as an example of a qualitative approach to educational technology. I hope you enjoy this paper as much as I do. For this discussion, I would like everyone to read their paper and then share their thoughts about it, in the sense of the lens or the perspective they took while reading it. My prediction and my hope is that we will all see many different lenses and prior experiences regarding digital text, and we are all university students, so hopefully we'll have a lively discussion about how our experiences and feelings intersect the author's findings. So to get us started, I will go first. In the introduction, Rose discusses predictions and trends towards ever-increasing practice of reading electronically. Keep in mind this paper was published in 2011 and the iPad debuted in 2010. I think that's important due to my own lens of experience. I acquired my first iPad in 2012 and I started my doctoral program in 2013. So by that time, I had purchased a few books using iBooks, that app. Mostly they were fiction, and I had read a few of them. Kindle Fire and Barnes & Noble Nook had also, if anyone remembers the Nook, had also become pretty popular by 2012. And so I found a lot of opportunities to purchase and read general fiction, even popular nonfiction electronically. But it took until I started my coursework until I considered reading PDF or doc files on a tablet. I just didn't have really the opportunity or the necessity. So, how does the introduction resonate with your experience? Have you found that things have kind of increased for you, ever increasing reading on a tablet? For me, as I began my coursework, I always read academic papers in print. That's because I like to highlight, underline, and make notes in the margins, and I never found apps that promised to do the same thing electronically to be worth the trouble to learn. I printed everything, including this paper, for my classes. um, when I completed my preliminary exams, I referred to boxes and boxes of printed papers, just pages and pages. I looked over every one, searching for highlights and notes. I did the same with my textbooks because I had never considered purchasing the electronic version of those either. Instead, I marked up purchased printed books. I'm not sure how this impacted my preliminary exams since I have no comparison. I didn't do it electronically to compare, but I felt comfortable reviewing my knowledge in this fashion. Now, however, when I am embarking on a massive literature search for my dissertation, I am daunted by the prospect of printing everything out. I look over boxes and boxes of papers, some of which are not useful for my future research, and I feel dismayed at the resources I've wasted. So I'm trying to read my papers electronically by downloading the PDF file onto my tablet iPad. What I do now is a bit of a hybrid. I read the papers electronically, but I make notes in an actual notebook. The one inconvenience I've encountered with that is that I have to write out quotes that I find, and I have to discipline myself to jot down the page and paragraph numbers so that I can retrieve and cite those quotes later. At the bottom of page 517, Rose quotes Donald Polkingorn when talking about how to establish credibility in her research. The validity of a phenomenological account owes much to how vividly and elegantly it represents an experience. If the insight is communicated well, then others will also recognize the description as a statement of the essence of the phenomenon for themselves. And this was on page 45, the quote that she cited. So how do those 6 themes resonate with your experience? For me, I found the first 2 themes, the disappearing page and to have but not to hold, to ring true for me. I resize many PDF files to fit my own iPad mini, and my eyes are such that I have to oftentimes zoom in. I do find this distracting. However, I console myself with the frustration by telling myself how many resources I'm saving by reading these papers electronically. Although I'm trying to go electronic for my dissertation, I haven't written my literature review yet, so I'm not sure how this plan is going to work out. I may find even greater frustration when I have to go back, so to speak, twice, once to my notes and once to the actual paper. I have to find 2 things now, not just one. On the other hand, I am very organized electronically. In my files, I made folders for the aspects of my topic, and the papers are organized by those topics. I hope that makes things go easier. I do find the ever-present screen, theme 3, to be distracting. One of the first books I read electronically was Steve Jobs' biography. I remember trying to read it in a bus, and the glare from the sunshine through the window made it impossible to see the screen. I was so disappointed. I find it hard to get in focus, which is theme 4. I'm distracted by email and other notifications when I'm reading on my iPad, and it takes willpower for me not to look at them. And it does break my concentration on the paper to see a notification because I do wonder what it's about. I have mixed feelings about the disciplined body, which is the next theme. While iPads and tablets are almost as light and portable as books, I do have to worry about dropping mine. Um, so when I read in a comfortable position, I worry about it just losing hold of it and it falling to the floor. I also have to worry about falling asleep while I'm reading or dozing off because a print book will fall to the floor without harm, but a tablet, not so much. I didn't resonate with the last theme, finding what I need. I don't read papers like people recommend. I don't read academically like people recommend you to do. I start at the beginning and I read it all the way through. This may change, but it's my prior experience and my prior bias. I always try to finish a novel, no matter how awful it might be, and I usually read a book from beginning to end. Old habits die hard, and I still haven't mastered reading academic papers by sections. That may be why I find qualitative research to be so readable. I am biased towards reading a good story from beginning to end. um, Similar to the author's struggles to bracket, I struggle to read electronically rather than find room in my house for boxes of printed papers. My bias is toward the printed page, though. I find the notes and the highlighting to save time, and I can easily locate them. As Rose notes on page 524, the debate about online reading described earlier in this paper is characteristic. One may be either a cheerleader or a naysayer. While I am trying to consider an alternative, more sustainable way to consume literature, my inclination and lens is through the naysayer eyes. Um, Even though I'm working in instructional technology, I have to say that I would much rather read a printed book. I find myself noticing aspects of a book when I read it. The paperweight, the texture of the paper, and especially the font. And while most PDF files are in a sans serif font that I would call boring, and a tactile sense of paper is replaced by the feel of my iPad, which remains consistent paper after paper after paper. So now it's your turn. What are your experiences and thoughts about reading electronically? How do you plan to read papers for your literature review? And how do you interact with a screen versus the printed page? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the discussion of this module, and I will see you there.